Beneath the broken sky, the boundless earth wailed, countless fires rushed out, greedily licked the air on the ground, the boundless sea also turned into a curtain of water and flew out of the sky, countless creatures were engulfed by various natural disaster visions, the real doomsday appeared between the world. The murderers who caused all this are the 10 demon gods standing between the heavens and the earth. Among the 10 demon gods, a man stood proudly holding a baby boy in his arms. Surrender, your family shouldn't disappear into this universe. As long as you surrender, the emperor of the human race will let you take the post. It's no different from the past, isn't it, and your beloved wife and children don't need to be buried with you. You can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. A demon with 3 heads and 6 arms, carrying a black blazing sun, looked at the man comfortingly. Chuyan, have you ever heard of our people surrendering? The man looked directly at the 10 demon gods, a sneer sneered at the corner of his mouth, his robe had no wind, and the bright purple universe was like a volcanic eruption. Erupting from the man, in the blink of an eye, a taller and more majestic Dharma image appeared between the heavens and the earth. Come on, let me see what progress you have made over the years. Don't be rubbed against the ground like I did in the past. The man stood upright, arrogant as if trying to pierce this space and time, just like his ancestors back then. The demon who faced the entire universe with a single sword didn't back down. A look of regret and appreciation flashed in the eyes of the 3-headed and 6-armed demon, and then his eyes were murderous. Since the man is unwilling to surrender, he must die here, or tens of millions of years of layout and planning will be in vain. It's a pity that this bloodline is immortal. From now on, there will be only 9 bloodlines of the immortal level in the main universe fight. 10 days rift the 3-headed and 6-armed demon gods threw the black sun into the air with a roar and started this shocking battle. After the black sun was suspended in the air, the 10 major demon gods shot one after another, and countless dazzling lights flooded the world. 9 suns hang in the air, the earth cracks and the sky collapses, the boundless sea water and mud poured into the void, and the aura of shattering everything fills this space and time. In the background of this doomsday, 10 demon gods as big as stars stand on all sides, and the front and back, the past and the future of the film are all blocked. Surrounded by these demon gods, the man embraced the baby boy and stood proudly with the broken sword in his hands. The lonely figure revealed infinite love. In the future, Nebula will have to eat well and live well, even if he overcomes obstacles, he must go out of his own way and grow into a man with a clear conscience and a clear conscience. I really want to hear you call Dad. The man lowered his head and looked at the baby boy's sleeping posture tenderly, his firm and handsome face was full of apology and tenderness. It turns out that Dad is selfish, so Dad can't walk with you next time. The man with infinite nostalgia exploded with the last power in his body, like a world-destroying scene of billion-trillion stars appearing in the man's eyes. In the next instant, time stopped flowing in this piece of time and space that was about to end. The 10 demon gods were like worms enclosed in amber, immediately unable to move. The colorful light gate appeared out of thin air. The bare door opened, and a strong man with a loafer shirt on top, beach pants underneath, and a pair of flip-flops walked out. Nebula will take care of you from now on. The man reluctantly handed the baby boy to the brawny. Don't worry, there are not many people in this universe who can trouble this little guy. Although the brawny man is casually dressed, he is domineering and exposed in every move, and the look of the jealousy is even more obvious. After the strong man took over the baby boy, time flowed again. When the 10 demon gods saw the strong man, he immediately glared and roared, "Star Thief King, didn't you say you would not participate in the war between us? Do you have to break your faith and break your promise?" The burly man embraced the baby boy and curled his mouth in disdain, and raised an unclear to the 10 devil gods, teaching the faith with the star thief, forgot to use your brain when you go out. After the sturdy man finished taunting, he walked into the light gate without turning his head around and holding the baby boy. "Star Thief King, you shameless villain, stop going!" The 10 demon gods raged into the sky, and billions of supernatural powers exploded towards the light gate. After seeing the strong man disappear, the man breathed a sigh of relief, and the look of the world returned to the young father again. Next, I should pay you to talk about it. Li Jian turned across the sky, and the dazzling brilliance once again flooded this space and time. In the federal period of Noah, 13904021, an incident that shocked the entire human race occurred. According to legend, the planet of the origin of the human race, the Earth, which was banned in the depths of infinite time and space by the ancestor of the human race, was discovered. The mystery of the origin that has plagued the human race for hundreds of millions of years is about to be unveiled. For a time, hundreds of millions of historians and powerhouses of the human race are coming to this legendary land. With the boiling of the entire universe, the Earth also became lively. This time the alien really appeared on the Earth, and it was also very high profile announced that the Earth will soon be under the jurisdiction of the Noah Federation and become a big family of hundreds of millions of people. One of them. On the coast of the East China Sea, a small wooden house stands quietly here. Compared to the noise of the outside world, this cabin looks extremely cold. In this cold cabin, a young man sat there. Li Xingyun, a young man who has suffered from severe mental illness since he was a child, has ushered in the most important choice in his life. My brain is sick, really, my brain is really sick, and it's not the kind of disease that can be cured by taking medicines and injections. There is no cure at all. So now I decided to end my life today and go look for the so-called truth in your mind. After Li Xingyun recorded this passage in his notebook, he picked up the dagger beside the notebook. It was a pitch-black dagger, a dagger that wasn't gold or jade, and there was no trace of artificial carving. Now this dagger is the only proof that Li Xingyun's closest person stays in this world. In fact, he was full of hallucinations in his mind. He didn't even know whether this closest person really existed or was it just an illusion created by his own brain in his mind. And now he finally made up his mind to find the so-called truth by ending his life. The dagger pierced and fell into his chest, and the severe pain spread throughout Li Xingyun's body. As he died, the young man's painful expression suddenly pulled out a heartfelt smile. Before he died, he finally saw the dreaming figure. Go gamble on the infinitely exciting future and the truth you want, my year of Sao. An old man with white beard and hair but a sturdy figure appeared in front of Li Xingyun's corpse. The gorgeous cardigan, colorful beach pants, and a pair of flip-flops make this old man look as leisurely as on a beach vacation, but the unruly domineering between his eyes is enough to make anyone extremely vicious. The murderer was terrified before him. With the appearance of the old man, dazzling brilliance bloomed from the young man's body. After the brilliance disappeared, the young man's figure disappeared into the room. Next, it's time to meet old friends for a while. After watching Li Xingyun disappear, the old man's mouth cracked with an arrogant smile, and a pair of tiger eyes looked at the sky outside the window, looking through the endless starry sky. At this time, the sun broke through the dark clouds and irradiated on the only photo in the house. The photo was bathed in the midsummer sun, which made people finally see the content of the photo. In the photo, under the blue sky and white clouds, the old man is wearing a straw hat, dressed in a gorgeous cardigan and colorful beach pants, standing by the sea, his face full of years with a silly laugh, rubbing his little hand in his left hand. Nebula's hair, little Nebula looked at the silly old man with disgust. The corresponding right hand was standing in the air, as if he was rubbing another child's head spoilingly, but his hand was empty, which made this ordinary photo seem indescribably weird. Detected the living soul of strong emotions. Soul attribute, human race, age, 16 years old. Location, Noah Federation, Phoenix Starfield, Milky Way, star of origin Earth. The target soul meets the collection standards. Apply for collection application. Successful collecting. Collection successful. In the mysterious place where time and space intersect, a voice without emotional fluctuations keeps ringing. My name is Li Xingyun. My brain is sick, really, my brain is really sick from childhood to adulthood. Once I get emotional, all kinds of hallucinations will pop up in my mind, and every night I dream I can see the tragedy of 10 terrifying demons slaughtering the world. 3 days ago my world was turned upside down, and the grandfather who raised me left a bunch of last words and disappeared. Yes, it's not missing, but disappeared. It disappeared in front of my eyes, alive like this, like an ink painting washed by water, disappearing in front of my eyes from beginning to end. And the last words left by my grandfather tell me that whether it is the realm of extinction I saw in my dreams or the various hallucinations I saw when I was awake, they are true, but these reality are not on the earth. My unreliable grandfather made me make a choice that is a matter of life and death. In the end I committed suicide. According to the last words left by my grandfather, I committed suicide with the dagger called the Death Declaration. Then I appeared in this place, Black Prison College, dark green blackboards, neatly arranged desks, and lockers in the corners. This is an ordinary classroom that cannot be used in ordinary classrooms. In the classroom, Li Xingyan and other 7 people were imprisoned in their seats, unable to move. Squeak! The dilapidated wooden door was pushed open, and a man wearing a brown leather cap and grey mask pushed in. "Hello everyone, I am your future head teacher, Rorschach." The man walked slowly to the podium and introduced himself with a hoarse voice, making people dazzling that with his words, traces of ink continued to appear on the grey mask. Under the changing ink, Rorschach pulled out a weird smile. "Everyone may be surprised, why are they here now? Let's remember what happened before. Everyone, have you died once?" Rorschach smiled, and spoke out the reality that everyone had always wanted to avoid. Death is not a good experience. There has always been a saying that there is a big horror between life and death. People who have died once will have a lot of changes in their mentality, personality, and even their outlook on life and world outlook. Perhaps the most significant change is the fear and avoidance of death. Now that Rorschach pointed it out directly, everyone's expressions were not very good. Had it not been for being imprisoned in the seat and unable to move his tongue, I am afraid that someone would have started yelling. "Now, everyone, welcome to the Black Prison College." Rorschach raised her voice, raising her hands with a slightly trembling voice in an exciting way. "This is the masterpiece of the gods, the devil's paradise, the place of the dead, where you will get a new life, and here you can get all the things you dream of: endless wealth, countless beauties, even immortality. All your dreams and all your ambitions can be realized here. Now you only have to do one thing, and that is to live, to survive the next admissions exam. As long as you live, everything is possible." Rorschach's hoarse voice seemed to spread to everyone's ears with a devilish temptation. As Rorschach finished his speech, a harsh class bell rang outside the classroom. A ghastly feeling filled the classroom. Under the horrified gaze of the 7 Li Xingyan, a large amount of scarlet blood suddenly seeped on the dark green blackboard. After most of the blood flowed into the gap under the blackboard, several lines of blood-red characters appeared in front of everyone, and at the same time a cold female voice without any emotional fluctuations sounded in the minds of 10 people. Black Prison College admissions examinations start. Mission World, the first act of Apocalypse, the Buddha of all living beings. Task Content 1, successfully survive for 30 days. Quest Content 2, Xianyuan Kaiming to leave Y City and arrive in the Merc defense line of H City. Quest Content 3, kill 500 ordinary zombies, 100 mutant zombies, and 10 butchers. Complete Task Content 1, reward 5,000 credits and 1 credit. Failure to deduct 1 credit. Complete Task Content 2, reward 2,000 credits, 1 credit, no penalty for failure. Complete Task Content 3, reward 3,000 credits, 1 credit, no penalty for failure. Those with negative credits after the exam. Kill. Transmission starts in 10 seconds. As the cold female voice fell, the lines of font disappeared before everyone's eyes. At the same time, the old-fashioned clocks above the blackboard that everyone thought had been damaged began to tick and turn. Live, live with all your strength, only those who crawl out of are qualified to breathe the fragrance of the world. Rorschach looked back at the blackboard and laughed wildly. The second hand returned to 0, and a dark vortex suddenly appeared in the center of the dark green blackboard, and everyone's eyes focused on the vortex as the vortex appeared. What followed was a sense of vertigo spinning around. After the dizziness disappeared, everyone found themselves in a bustling street, with high-rise buildings and bustling people in their eyes. The strange thing is that the 7 Li Xingyan in the middle of the crowd were completely ignored, and an invisible barrier completely isolated the 7 from the outside world. This is the world in Apocalypse. A high school girl among the 7 looked at the world around her with excitement. Looking at the original appearance of the surrounding streets, it shouldn't be wrong. The question now is, how to make sure we are not in the world of that virtual game. A tall and thin man looked at the world around him coldly. I believe everyone has played this classic game Apocalypse. I believe that no one will be bored. After saving all of us, we can experience life in the game, and you are sure before you are born again. Can your injury be saved? A man with gold glasses sneered. This brother has done a good analysis. My last memory before I was reborn was that I was hit by an anti-magnetic motor car. In that case, it would be hard to find my body. To say that the hospital can save me intact is no different. The Arabian Nights, that is to say, now we are indeed resurrected by the place called the Black Prison High School, and then we have invested in this game to conduct a trial called the enrollment examination. What we should consider now is how to survive this trial and get back alive, a rich and honest middle-aged man said with a simple smile. I think we should get to know each other, after all, we will be teammates next. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Yin Shi, an ordinary businessman in the Forbidden Domain. The brother on the road who was offended before his rebirth was accidentally tied to the train track. Hee, I woke up and went to the classroom. Among them, everyone knows the rest of the matter. If the cultivation level is not high and the low is not good, it has reached the second stage of the martial arts 3 realms. The thing that is better at is trade. After the rich businessman introduced himself earnestly, he smiled and looked at the others. The girl who looked like a high school student was quite excited and said, "Hello everyone, my name is Ziyuliun, I am Noah Federation, Phoenix Star Territory, Zilangzing, a 5th grade student of Mingju Middle School. She had a traffic accident before she was born again. The cultivation base has just been in the period of the 3 realms of warrior, and he is good at playing various virtual games, especially Apocalypse. I am a diehard fan of Revelation. I didn't expect to be able to come into the real Revelation world one day, just like dreaming." After Ziyuliun finished speaking, she found that she seemed to be overexcited, and her pretty face flushed. "Frankly speaking, I am afraid that we will have to watch for help next. My name is Longli, the Hualong Dynasty Renshi. I lost my hand when hunting monsters. I died at the mouth of the monsters. The marrow washing period in the 3 realms of cultivation. At the pinnacle of the realm, what you are good at, fighting is the same." The tall thin man barely squeezed out a friendly smile, and after introducing himself, he looked at other people playfully. The man with golden silk glasses said expressionlessly, "Gao Xiangui, a member of the Hualong dynasty, at the peak of the marrow washing stage, good at killing people." After Gao Xiangui finished speaking, he looked at Long Li with undisguised hostility. Long Li looked at Gao Xiangui with a dazed expression. Why did he inexplicably hate him just now? The method of the Tianlong people to pull hatred is indeed well deserved. Haha. The man with a sallow face looked at Long Li and Gao Xiangui while watching the show, and then introduced himself. "My name is Bai Qi, a member of the Hunyuan Alliance, and I am also washing at the marrow stage." He is also quite good at killing people. Bai Qi cracked a playful smile at the corner of his mouth, and everyone who saw it felt a chill. If Gao Xiangui said that he was good at killing people in order to provoke Long Li, the same words would not be a joke when he said the same words from Bai Qi's mouth. The murderous aura that Bai Qi revealed inadvertently made people feel jealous. The last big guy with a big body and full face smiled stiffly. "My name is Chen Xiaoming, a member of the Noah Federation Frontier Expeditionary Army. I died in an accident while exploring the unknown star field. I am good at expedition and survival in the wild." Chen Xiaoming's words made others curl their lips, although he deliberately didn't say his cultivation level. However, anyone who is not blind can tell at a glance that Chen Xiaoming's cultivation level is probably the bottom of the public. Even Li Xingyun, who does not know how old he is physically better than him. With this kind of cultivation base, let alone a frontier expeditionary army, it is impossible for ordinary guards to serve. Such obvious lies can be said, and it can only be said that Chen Xiaoming's thick-skinned face is rare. After the other 5 people introduced themselves, either true or false, they all looked at Li Xingyun, who was the smallest in appearance. At this time, Li Xingyun was still indulging in the strangeness in his body. Why my body has become so small, and why is there a cold current in my heart? It turns out that Li Xingyun suddenly found that his vision was much lower after entering the world in revelation. After a closer inspection, he discovered that I found myself becoming young. Although Li Xingyun was a teenager before rebirth, he was also 16 years old, and now he finds that his body is at most a 12 or 3-year-old junior. And the most weird thing is that following his heartbeat, he felt a cold current constantly scouring his body, and every time he scoured, he could vaguely feel that his body had become stronger. Ahem, this little brother, it's your turn. Chen Xiaoming, who was standing next to Li Xingyun, patted Li Xingyun and looked at him speechlessly. At any rate, he also made up a self-introduction to fool it. Too lazy to make up, he looks like he is indulged in his own thinking. What's the matter? Oh, yes, introduce yourself. Li Xingyun regained his senses, and said embarrassedly, my name is Li Xingyun, I live in Qingdao, Shandong. I died of food poisoning and I am good at reading. Li Xingyun just finished introducing himself. The cold female voice appeared in everyone's mind again. Successful transmission identity is loading. Loading successfully. The protective cover will be opened in 10 minutes. I wish you all, Wuyun is prosperous. Everyone suddenly realized that a small piece of memory that did not exist in their minds suddenly appeared in their minds. It turned out that the Black Prison College had arranged an identity for them in order to fully integrate them into the world of revelation. Longshan Middle School is a first-year junior high school student. I didn't expect the Black Prison College to be very thoughtful, and arranged a reasonable identity for us. Li Xingyun took out his pocket in silence, and a card-like student ID appeared in his hand. Pig killer? Why don't you give me a better status? Chen Xiaoming waved the pickling knife that suddenly appeared in his hand depressed. The others also checked their identities one after another. Long Li's identity was a police officer in City H because he came to City Y to visit relatives. Ziyuliun is a student in a middle school in Y City, but she is not in Longshan Middle School with Li Xingyun. Bai Qi and Gao Xiangui are both white-collar workers in the same company in Y City, but they are in different departments. Yin Qi is the administrator of a library in Y City. 10 minutes? I think we have to hurry up and customize a plan. I don't know if you have any good ideas. After Long Li somehow pulled his hatred, he didn't bother to talk about Gao Xiangui and confronted other human beings. I think many people have played this game. But I would like to ask Miss Ziyuliun to introduce it first. She looked at Ziyuliun with a smile and said, this way we can also analyze the next specific situation. Ziyuliun blushed and shyly said under the gaze of everyone, Apocalypse is a virtual game with an overhead history that appeared in the Noah Federation 3000 years ago. The background is at the end of the human race's technological evolution, which is the historical node of the demise of the old man and the birth of the new man in the late period of the first dark turmoil. The plot is extremely grand. It can be described as a large-scale virtual game that integrates Star Wars, horror, competition, and other elements. It has been running for more than 3,000 years and has even gradually formed a complete virtual universe. The specific content of the story is the genocide war that simulated the full-scale invasion of the Ghost Tribe. The prototype of Xian Yuan Kaiming's character is actually the ancestor of the human race who is over the world. Because of a high degree of historical restoration, the game Apocalypse once swept the entire human race. Countless gamers are addicted to it to lead the doomed old humans out of desperation. However, it is a pity that apart from Xianyuan Kaiming as the protagonist, no other player has achieved this goal while changing the course of history. The first chapter we need to experience is the beginning of the whole story. The Ghost Race launched a full-scale invasion war. Except for a few remote planets in the human domain, the rest of the planets fell completely overnight, hundreds of millions. Terran is caught in the flames of war. The protagonist we know, Xianyuan Kaiming, is also in the constant survival and fighting step by step to unlock the genetic restrictions in his body, burst out with incredible potential and combat effectiveness, and finally entered the eyes of the entire human race high-level, for the future command the human race to fight back and lay the groundwork. This is the general game background and plot of Apocalypse and Zushan Futu. Fortunately, the student ID was not lost when Li Xingyun just took out the student ID in his arms and didn't know what to do. A rainbow beam suddenly shot out from the middle of the door. After scanning the student ID, the door of Longshan Middle School opened slowly. At this moment, several stumbling figures came out on the corner of the street and ran out roaring, and rushed right after seeing the two of Li Xingyun. Damn it, why does this door open so slowly? Chen Xiaoming nervously held the pickling knife in his hand, and looked back at the slowly opening door in anxious manner from time to time. It is resolved that these 3 zombies are going in, otherwise the door cannot be closed, and when a large group of zombies swarm in, it will still be dead. Li Xingyun leaned forward, focusing all his attention on the 3 zombies in front of him like a cheetah about to ambush, and tightly clenched the dagger he found halfway in his right hand. If you die, you will die. Malgobi will be a hero again after 18 years. Chen Xiaoming roared with a hideous face, and the pickling knife in his hand was the first to chop it out. An approaching zombie immediately hit the head with the knife and softened, but the next moment Chen Xiaoming's expression changed. He was overly nervous because of the chop. Excessive strength caused the pickling knife to get stuck in the zombie's skull, but it couldn't be pulled out in a hurry. At this time, the second zombie had roared and rushed in front of him, and his mouth had already bit his arm. Just as Chen Xiaoming was panicking, a thin figure flashed out from behind him. The sharp blade light flashed, and the arm against Chen Xiaoming pierced into the zombie's mouth, and then a big foot was printed on his chest, kicking the zombie upside down and flying out. The third zombie that followed only felt dark in front of him, and then he was smashed and lost his balance. After staggering twice, he plunged into the ground. The blood-stained face suddenly became more hideous and pale. The bone, with the twisted and violent expression, is like a ghost crawling out of hell. Li Xingyun slightly raised Zhou's brows, and before the zombie got up again, he swept out with a side kick. After the crisp sound of fracture, the zombie's head immediately twisted at a strange angle. His grandma's ghost is not dead yet. Chen Xiaoming flicked vigorously for a few times, and finally pulled the pickling knife from the head of the first zombie. After the neck was fractured, he couldn't move all over. He still grew up with his mouth trying to bite his zombie, and he took a bite. Air conditioning. Kill him, don't attract other zombies. Li Xingyun resisted the discomfort and drew the dagger out of the mouth of the dead zombie, and then ended the life of the paralyzed zombie. Is it so cruel in the real world? Thinking of the scenes I saw before, even with Li Xingyun's firm mind, he couldn't help but feel a little trance. Be careful. Just when Li Xingyun's expression was in a trance, a sense of crisis that was so strong that it couldn't be eliminated filled his mind. At this time, a dark shadow full of blood flashed out of the door of Longshan Middle School that was slowly opening. Li Xingyun had no choice but to rush the dagger in his hand against the black shadow, and then he was caught. He fell to the ground with great strength, and suddenly lost consciousness after a knock on the back of his head against the cold ground. 30 kilometers away from Longshan University, close to the third ring road of Y City, Long Li and others appeared at a rather secluded intersection, but the faces of several people were extremely different. Although they responded in time and escaped the bustling streets, avoiding the crisis of being besieged by a large number of zombies, the extraordinary actions of a few people succeeded in attracting the attention of the guardians of the ghost race. Damn it, the Black Prison College is going to kill us? Teleport to the ghost singularity, it's better to send us directly to the ghost. Panting vigorously and cursingly, the pampered man had already lost the vigor and physical strength of his youth. This escape made him physically and mentally exhausted. Don't scold, you haven't got out of the Guardian's detection range yet. If you attract him, I will be the first to push you out to feed the zombies. At this time, the face of Longli is not calm. In the entire chapter of the Buddha, except for the small boss level Punisher, only the Guardian of the Ghost Singularity. The former is good to say, even if the dragon is not defeated. Can run, and the latter is not a role that Long Li can handle. Once met, it will be the end of a life of 9 deaths. After being threatened, his face became gloomy and honest. Being a successful businessman is a required course to be able to flex and stretch. What's more, to become a businessman in a chaotic place like the Forbidden Domain, if the EQ is not early enough, he will be thrown into the stinking ditch. However, Yin Shi is not a broad-minded person. If he catches the opportunity, he will let Long Li return even with a profit. Brother Long, we can't run aimlessly like this. If a ghost singularity accidentally runs into the city center, it will definitely die. After taking a breather for a while, Ziyuliun said anxiously that, as the little fangirl of the game Apocalypse, she knew nothing about the dangers in the chapter of the Buddha. Although the second ghost singularity is dangerous, it has not reached the point of desperation. The first ghost singularity in the city center is the real purgatory. Not to mention a few of them, but another 800 people of their level will be thrown into it. Don't risk one and it's gone. Xiu Ziyuliun is right. The first priority should be to quickly confirm where we are, and then find the protagonist Xian Yuan Kaiming. It may be safer to have the protagonist's halo over it. Gao Xiangui, who had been silent, couldn't help but speak out. No one can calm down under the pressure of death. Xian Yuan Kaiming first appeared in Longshan Middle School in the first act. As long as you find Longshan Middle School, 80% can meet Xian Yuan Kaiming. Ziyuliun hurriedly said the information he knew. You can only do this now. Let's look around for a while. It would be great if you can find a map or a hologram directly. You will gather here in half an hour. Ziyuliun and Yinshi will compare your cultivation skills. No, just follow me. Long Li commanded politely. At this moment of life and death, no one jumped out to oppose him. After choosing a direction, he hurriedly searched for the surrounding buildings. At this time Ziyuliun was not in a hurry, frowned and started looking for street signs around. Anything to find? Long Li looked at Ziyuliun's petite body with a slightly anxious expression. Well, there is no major discovery for the time being, but the streets around here, I seem to have passed by several times while playing Apocalypse. It seems familiar. If I remember correctly, there should be a library nearby. Wherever I can find a useful map or hologram, but the more troublesome thing is that after a long time, I can't remember the specific direction of the library, Ziyuliun said shyly. Then the four sneaked all the way towards the Longshan school marked on the map. Where is this? I don't know how long it took before Li Xingyun finally woke up. After a slight movement, the sharp pain in the back of his head as if it was about to split suddenly made him take a breath of cold air. Your kid finally woke up and was in a coma for a day. We will treat you as a zombie if you don't wake up. Chen Xiaoming's loud voice finally brought Li Xingyun back to his senses. Only then did Li Xingyun realize that he had arrived in a rather retro classroom. With a sharp look, Li Xingyun thought he had returned to the classroom of the Black Prison College. However, after regaining consciousness, I found that the layout of this classroom was completely different from that of the Black Prison College. At least the technology content was much higher than that of the Black Prison College classroom. The complete holographic projection device and the alloy desks and chairs that can be folded and retracted into the ground make this a beautiful classroom like a science fiction animation. This should enter Longshan Middle School, right? A girl with an unusually beautiful appearance but an extremely cold temperament seemed to hear the movement in the classroom and push the door into her. Brother Xiaoming, is he awake? Li Xingyun turned his head and saw the girl fluttering in white. Her beautiful and unparalleled face was dreamlike, but her eyes revealed a trace of stubbornness and strength. Li Xingyun was shocked when he saw the girl. It was the first time he saw such a flawless woman. Haha, Sister Kaihuyu, he's okay, he's alive and well. The heartless Chen Xiaoming patted and smiled. Li Xingyun glanced at Chen Xiaoming speechlessly. This guy didn't know what to eat and grew up with solid hands, so he took a slap and almost didn't shut him down. By the way, I forgot to introduce this beautiful young lady named Meng Kaihuyu. She is a student of Longshan Middle School like you. Chen Xiaoming winked at Li Xingyun while carrying Meng Kaiyu on his back and said, if it wasn't for Sister Kaiyu to pick us up, I'm afraid we are still outside the school now. Meng Kaiyu's pretty face blushed unnaturally. Brother Chen, don't say anything. If I were not reckless and let go of the mutant zombie, this little brother would not fall into crisis. When Li Xingyun heard the name of Longshan Middle School, it was immediately obvious why Chen Xiaoming would hint at himself like this. Sister Meng Kaiyu. Li Xingyun looked at Meng Kaiyu pretending to be excited and asked knowingly. Well, are you also a student of Longshan Middle School? Meng Kaiyu breathed a sigh of relief after seeing that Li Xingyun was fine, and a smile was unnaturally squeezed out on Qiao's face. Yes, Sister Meng, I am a student of junior high school. Li Xingyun said that he took out his students, and secretly said that it was really tiring to pretend to be tender. If it weren't for the protagonist, he would not be willing to stand up and be cute. Meng Kaiyu didn't doubt that he was there, and the gaze looking at Li Xingyun couldn't help but change a lot. After all, he was her junior, and she was almost pitted by herself. She felt that she had an obligation to take care of him. You just woke up from a coma, take a little more rest, and I will go around again to prevent zombies from lurking in. The cold-natured Meng Kaiyu was not very used to getting along with strangers, so she stayed for a while and walked out. Li Xingyun breathed a sigh of relief after seeing Meng Kaiyu leave. Brother Chen, this is Longshan Middle School, right? Li Xingyun asked. Chen Xiaoming smiled honestly. Yes, thanks to your wit for leading me to take refuge in this school, otherwise I'm afraid I would have been eaten by the zombies outside, but you know that there is a school in this place. Li Xingyun gave a wry smile. He really couldn't answer this question. His previous behavior was completely subconsciously following his feelings, and he himself didn't expect to find this middle school. Seeing Li Xingyun's appearance, Chen Xiaoming hesitated and asked with a curious look, Little brother Xingyun, do you know the Noah Federation? Noah Federation? Li Xingyun looked at Chen Xiaoming hesitantly, wondering why Chen Xiaoming asked such a question without thinking. So what about Hualong Dynasty and Hunyuan Alliance? Chen Xiaoming continued to ask. What mess, what are you talking about? Li Xingyun also frowned and looked at Chen Xiaoming. At this time, he also found that something was wrong. Although Chen Xiaoming and others had introduced these place names, except for the Noah Federation, which declared sovereignty on the earth, other regions seemed to him very strange. I won't go around the corner. Do you still remember the things before rebirth? Do you still remember the name of your country or home planet? Chen Xiaoming watched Li Xingyun go silent, and he was naturally not stupid if he could be selected by a black prison college. After spending some time with Li Xingyun, he also discovered Li Xingyun's abnormality. Although this little guy looked like a young man, he didn't know a lot of common sense, and he was like a person who had traveled through primitive society. Although he hesitated for a long time, Li Xingyun decided to talk frankly with Chen Xiaoming. After all, he knew too little information now, and those were still terrible information, and the secrets he kept changed at the moment of life and death. It doesn't matter much. Have you heard of such place names as China, the United States, Japan, and South Korea? Chen Xiaoming shook his head. These terms are quite unfamiliar to him. What about the Earth? Li Xingyun looked at Chen Xiaoming stubbornly, with a nervous look in his eyes. Although he had prepared in a little bit, he became nervous when things happened. Earth. I have heard of it somewhere, I think. For a while Chen Xiaoming touched his chin and recalled the origin of the term. After a while, a look of shock suddenly appeared on his face. Does the Earth you mean refers to that Earth, the star of human origin, the Earth of the solar system? Chen Xiaoming's excited voice became hoarse, and he pulled Li Xingyun tightly. The star of origin? It's true that the Earth is in the solar system, so you know where the Earth is. Li Xingyun heard that Chen Xiaoming knew the Earth and breathed a sigh of relief. I am from the Earth in the solar system. Which Earth is there? Ha 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 ha, I thought I had sacrificed in vain. I didn't expect that there really was an Earth. Chen Xiaoming, a strong man of 8 meters and 80 meters, burst into tears when he heard the word Earth. Crying and laughing. Chen Xiaoming's excessive emotions immediately frightened Li Xingyun, and Li Xingyun stared at him for a while, not knowing what to say to comfort him. Sorry, I'm so excited. Little brother Nebula told me so frankly, let me tell you all the information I know. Chen Xiaoming eased his emotions and smiled bitterly. Little brother, remember what I said before. I am a member of the Noah Federation Frontier Expeditionary Army. I have not lied about this, but I did not die when I was exploring the unknown star field. It was an accident, but was discovered by a spy while lurking in the expedition army of the Hualong dynasty border area, and this was secretly executed. Let me talk about Revelation first. Chen Xiaoming continued. Apocalypse is a virtual game with an overhead history that appeared in the Noah Federation 3,000 years ago. The background is in the end of the human technology evolutionary road, which is the end of the first dark turmoil, the demise of the old man and the birth of the new man. The historical note of the specific content of the story is the genocide war that simulated the full-scale invasion of the ghost tribe. The prototype of Xian Yuan Kaiming's character is actually the ancestor of the human race who is over the world. Because of the high degree of historical restoration, the game Apocalypse once swept the entire human race. Countless gamers are addicted to it to lead the doomed old humans out of desperation, but it is a pity except for the protagonist Xian Yuan outside Kaiming, no player has achieved this goal while changing the course of history. After Chen Xiaoming explained the game plot of Apocalypse in detail, he quietly waited for Li Xingyun to digest the news. When Li Xingyun heard the word virtual game, his eyes flashed and asked. According to you, then we are in a virtual game now? Then we will not really die. Chen Xiaoming looked at Li Xingyun with a wry smile. I'm afraid that's not the case. Apocalypse is indeed the game I know well, but the Black College seems to have turned this game into a real world, and we have been thrown into this world. If you die here, you should be really dead. How can this be so? Where did this Black Prison College be created sacredly? It is so magical, and why is it that we are thrown into this world? Is it possible to achieve it to please those high-level beings? Li Xingyun heard so many unimaginable things that he was completely confused. I don't know the specific origin of the Black Prison College. There is no information about this magical place in the main universe. Chen Xiaoming finished talking about all the information he knew, and stopped silently waiting for Li Xingyun to digest the information. The two fell silent. Not long after, Meng Kaihui walked in with a cold face. Xian Yuan Kaiming and the others haven't returned yet, I'm afraid something went wrong. Chen Xiaoming was stunned when he heard Meng Kaihuyu's words, and then he secretly said that the inertia of the game plot is indeed strong, and the little lovers Meng Kaihuyu and Xian Yuan Kaiming are really stuck together and inseparable. But even if he knew it in his heart, Chen Xiaoming still pretended to be stupid. Sister Chu Yu, are there anyone else in the school? By the way, I just forgot to say that in addition to me, there are 2 survivors Xian Yuan Kaiming and Ji Zioxi in the school, but now they are not here, but in the kendo room of the comprehensive building. After Meng Kaihuyu's brief explanation, Li Xingyun knew that Meng Kaihuyu and Xian Yuan Kaiming had arrived at the school before the cataclysm. This is no different from the original game plot, but what Li Xingyun and the other 2 did not expect is that there is a third party between the 2 who depend on each other in the original game. The character Ji Zioxi has never appeared in the game. There is also a difference from the game plot. The kendo room that was originally planned for the middle and late stages of the school plot, now Xian Yuan Kaiming is already trying to open the door of the kendo room. Is the variable the character named Ji Zioxi? Li Xingyun didn't think too much either. After all, he is not in the same virtual game that just follows the plot. In the real life, any variables may exist. The three of them didn't communicate for too long and sprinted along the corridors of the teaching building towards the complex. Fortunately, the zombies in the teaching building had been cleaned up by Meng Kaihuyu and Xian Yuan Kaiming, otherwise such a movement might attract a lot of attention. The zombies came. Less than 10 minutes. The three of them walked through the corridor to the complex building, where the three of them did not dare to run away. The cataclysm had only a short time, and Meng Kaihuyu and the others had only had time to clean up the smaller teaching building. The comprehensive building is too late to attack. In fact, in the game Raiders complex is also the first level of the game. After the sneaky three people finally got around the several club classrooms where zombies gathered more, they finally came to the floor where the kendo room was located. However, when they arrived, they found that not only Xian Yu and Kaiming were the only two at the entrance of the kendo room, but four men with different postures vaguely surrounded two figures, one large and one small. Long calendar? Why are they here? After seeing the appearance of the four people, Chen Xiaoming whispered and looked at them in surprise. After hearing Chen Xiaoming's voice, the confronting people couldn't help but look over. After seeing the three of Li Xingyun, Long Li and others couldn't help but be surprised. In their opinion, Li Xingyun and Chen Xiaoming, who have the same physical fitness as ordinary people, should have died among the zombies long ago. They even found this school after paying the price of one person. The specific location where they were blocking Xian Yu and Kaiming at the entrance of the kendo room. You know. After Meng Kaihuyu looked at Chen Xiaoming, she looked at Long Li and the others vigilantly. She felt an inexplicable oppressive force on these four people, and it was certain that these people were definitely not ordinary people. Don't get me wrong, this girl, we didn't have any bad intentions. We came here to find a companion. It seems that we didn't find the wrong place. After Long Li made up a reason, he looked at Li Xingyun with a smile. After Chen Xiaoming smiled ugly, he pinched his nose and nodded. The situation is better than others. Looking at the posture of Long Li, he just wanted to admit that they were companions. It turns out that your comrades of Brother Chen scared me. I thought it was the army. Well, that senior sister Chu Yu, why are you here too? After Xian Yu and Kaiming breathed a sigh of relief, he laughed heartlessly. After being blocked by Long Li and others before, he thought it was someone from the military who came to him, but now it seems to be a misunderstanding. People don't send a middle school student like Li Xingyun to perform tasks, especially in this dangerous time. It turned out to be a misunderstanding. I also said why Kaiming and the others haven't returned for a long time. Is something wrong? Meng Kaihuyu smiled faintly with polite manners, and lightly revealed the matter. Although she vaguely felt that there was something wrong with the people on the opposite side, it was obviously not the time to tear her face. Okay, the misunderstanding is resolved. Then I will introduce myself. My name is Long Li. I was originally from the police in City H next door. A chance encounter on the street, after being washed away by a wave of zombies, I was worried about their comfort, so I looked for it. Long Li made up nonsense without blinking, filling in the loopholes in the previous words between 2 or 3 sentences. The remaining 3 also followed Long Li's words to introduce themselves again, which was considered to have gained the basic trust of Xian Yu and Kaiming and others. The 9 people have their own concerns, but they are hugged together in this apocalyptic world. After Long Li and others introduced themselves, they were not so good to embarrass Xian Yu and Kaiming and the others, and slightly staggered to release the encirclement. A rather delicate young man suddenly appeared in front of Li Xingyun's trio with a small Lolita who was carved like a porcelain doll. Li Xingyun was stunned when he saw the appearance of Lori Zioxi. An extremely familiar and unfamiliar name appeared in Li Xingyun's mind, and the discordant picture in his memory appeared in front of Li Xingyun again, but the old man's right hand was no longer empty, the charming little Lori appeared in the picture. A pair of star-like beautiful eyes looked at the dirty young Li Xingyun. Before he knew it, Li Xingyun couldn't help but burst into tears. At this moment, Li Xingyun felt that he was truly alive. At this time, Li Xingyun's abnormality also attracted everyone's attention. Zioxi, do you know him? Xuan Yuan Kaiming frowned and looked at Li Xingyun, who was crying like a second fool. Little Lori shook her head at a loss, and bit her lip entangled for a while. I don't remember, but this little brother made me feel so close. Xuan Yuan Kaiming suddenly realized that the little Lowell was the little guy he and Meng Kaihuya had picked up on the way to escape. Although she was very clever, she didn't know the past, and she had lost her memory because of the stimulation. And looking at Li Xingyun's appearance, he clearly knew little Lolita. I am afraid it was not an ordinary relationship. This time Xuan Yuanqi obviously got close to Li Xingyun. Ahem, does this classmate know Zioxi? Xuan Yuan Kaiming asked with a smile. He was also very happy that Lolita could find her relatives. I can't remember, Li Xingyun sobbed. Everyone looked at Li Xingyun dumbfounded. What's wrong with this family? Anyone with a discerning eye can see that the relationship between the two is unusual, but the person involved can't remember each other at all. He knocked on his head before Meng Kaihuyu, who was sitting on the sidelines, suddenly uttered a sentence, but it made everyone surprised. The brain is the most delicate and fragile organ of human beings. It is not uncommon for a violent impact to make people lose memory temporarily. Interesting. Bai Qi, who had been standing in the corner, whose presence had almost disappeared, gave a cold smile. Although he is not very clear about the origin of Li Xingyun, it is certain that Li Xingyun, like them, was recruited by black prison colleges after his death. But now he had a trick to recognize her brother and sister with this inexplicable little Lolita. If there is nothing wrong with this, his white name can be written upside down. Not long after, other people obviously thought of the weirdness, and their gazes at Li Xingyun couldn't help but become weird. Xuan Yuan Kaiming, who didn't understand the inside story, didn't notice anything, but because Li Xingyun and Zioxi's siblings recognized each other, they became close to them, and the relationship between everyone was unknowingly harmonious. Ding! Preparation students Ji Zioxi and Li Xingyun teamed up successfully. The mission is loaded. Task loaded successfully. Task Content 1, successfully survive for 30 days. Quest Content 2, Xuan Yuan Kaiming to leave Y City and arrive in the Merc defense line of H City. Quest Content 3, kill 500 ordinary losers, 100 mutant zombies, and 10 butchers. Complete Task Content 1, reward 5,000 credits and 1 credit. Failure to deduct 1 credit. Complete Task Content 2, reward 2,000 credits, 1 credit, no penalty for failure. Complete Task Content 2, reward 3,000 credits, 1 credit, no penalty for failure. Those with negative credits after the exam. Kill. When everyone heard the cold female voice, they couldn't help but stunned. Everyone didn't expect Ji Zioxi to join their team in this way. Damn! Li Xingyun's expression changed when he heard the cold female voice. Although he had only entered the Black Prison College for just a day, he had fully experienced the dangers involved. Now the Black Prison College has pulled Ji Zioxi into it, thinking of Ji Zioxi. The danger he was about to face, Li Xingyun couldn't help filling his chest with raging anger. Although the anger filled his chest, Li Xingyun felt a sense of powerlessness as if he was a knife. He is too weak to protect himself. At this moment, Li Xingyun has an endless yearning for a powerful force. Only when he becomes stronger can he protect those who need him again. The plot of the game seems to have changed due to the addition of Ji Zioxi. Originally, Xuan Yuan Kaiming had to defeat a mutant zombie in the complex before getting the Kendo Room access card before opening the Kendo Room access control. Need it. Xian Yuan Kaiming and little Lori had the ability to open the door to the kendo room in advance. It is worth mentioning that the little lowly Ji Zioxi turned out to be an awakened person, or a rare spiritual power awakener, and Ji Zioxi's awakening ability is the power of reading, a superpower known as the supernatural power. I didn't expect to see such a talented genius in such a place. Long Li and others looked at Ji Zioxi, who was cracking the entrance guard of the kendo room. Their eyes flashed with inexplicable light, 7 points of envy mixed with 3 points of jealousy. There are not many awakened ones even in the main universe outside. Each of them is a genius out of a million. It is important to know that innate ability is located in the deepest part of the human body. It is one of the strong foundations of the human race. Generally speaking, only after practicing to the peak of the warrior can a warrior open the gods and obtain the hidden talents in the ancestors' genes after 9 dead. For example, Ji Zioxi's darling of these days has obtained this divine treasure early, and from then on, he can leave the mediocrity behind on the road of cultivation. At the entrance of the kendo room in the comprehensive building, everyone held their breath and guarded Xian Yuan Kaiming and Ji Zioxi. And these two little guys were sneaking around in front of the door. Yes, this is the red wire. After breaking it, connect this red wire to the third electrical port above, and the green wire below. As Xian Yuan Kaiming was talking, little Lolita concentrated on using her unique mind power to override the dense thin lines on the entrance guard. Unknowingly, dozens of minutes passed, and the entrance guard of the kendo room finally rose after a clear ding-dong sound. Seeing this scene, the two could not help cheering excitedly. It seemed that after hearing the cheers of the two, a low roar and a rush of running sounded from the stairwell. Not long after, 5 zombies with smelly corpses appeared in front of everyone. But before the 5 zombies made any movement, the figure of Long Li appeared in front of them. After a few violent fist winds blew, the heads of the 5 zombies burst open like a watermelon, splashing blood on the ground.